If you can hear your annoying neighbor upstairs, or maybe they're not annoying, you just hear their footsteps, voice bleeding through the ceiling upstairs. In this video, I'll show you the best way to soundproof a ceiling. It's not the cheapest, but it's the methods that actually work. But the first step is to figure out what kind of noise you're dealing with. If you're hearing dull, heavy thumps like footsteps, chairs scraping, or pets running around, that's impact noise. The activity upstairs is shaking the floor just enough to make your ceiling vibrate, and that vibration turns into sound below. Adding insulation or foam panels won't solve this. To reduce impact noise, you need to break the direct path between their floor and your ceiling. And what if what you hear are voices, TV, music? That's airborne noise. The sound is moving through the air, then slipping past gaps, light fixtures, or thin drywall. To block this, you need to add mass, heavier material that are harder for sound to get through, and also make the ceiling airtight so there's no easy path for sound to leak through. But most people are dealing with both, but if you're only dealing with one of them, well, if you're only dealing with voices, add mass. If you're dealing with thumping noise, add step 1, which is isolation clips and hat channels. Instead of fastening drywall directly to the joist, where every vibration from above transfers straight into your ceiling, you're creating a flexible break that forces those vibrations to die out before they reach the drywall. First, the isolation clips fasten to the floor joist above. These clips have a small rubber or spring component that absorbs some of the movement. Next, thin metal hat channels snap into the clips. When you attach your new drywall, you screw it into the channel, not the joist. The rubber element in each clip flexes slightly as footsteps or furniture moves from upstairs, and the metal channel spreads whatever vibrations are left. The result is that a lot less sound energy is reaching your ceiling. This setup is a big step up from simply adding insulation or a second layer of drywall. Extra drywall gives you more mass, it helps for airborne noise like voices, TV, but it won't do much for this stomping. Insulation inside the cavity can reduce echo but won't stop vibrations either. The clip and hat channel system breaks the direct link that carries impact noise, and it gives you a strong base for adding mass later to handle airborne noise. So if you skip this step and you're dealing with impact noise, even if you add 3 layers of drywall, you're not going to be satisfied. Next, add mineral wool between the joist. While you still got the ceiling open, this is the perfect time to add mineral wool insulation between the joists. Mineral wool, sometimes sold under the name like rock wool, is denser and heavier than your regular pink fiberglass insulation. That density lets it absorb more airborne sound bouncing inside your ceiling cavity. Another advantage is fire resistant. Mineral wool doesn't burn like fiberglass can. It also offers excellent thermal insulation. It's also easy to cut to fit snugly between the joists without leaving any gaps. And in the US, expect to pay between $50 to $70 per bag, and a typical ceiling in an average size room might need 2 to 3 bags depending on spacing. I'll have links in the description below of everything I talk about in this video to make it easier for you to go ahead and buy. Now it's time to give your ceiling the weight it needs to block airborne noise. And the most effective way to do this is to install 2 layers of 5/8 of an inch drywall on the hat channel. A single sheet of drywall offers some resistance, but doubling up dramatically increases the mass, making it much harder for sound waves to pass through. When hanging the first layer, leave a small gap, about 1/4 of an inch, at the perimeter where the drywall meets the wall. After the second layer is installed, fill that gap with acoustic sealant. This flexible sealant keeps air and sound from slipping through the edges as your home shifts over time. And for the second layer, stagger the seams so they don't line up with the first. This breaks up any straight path that sound could follow through both layers. Use drywall screws long enough to go through both layers and into the metal channel securely, but never screw into the joist. Because you're doubling the drywall, you're adding considerable weight. A typical 5x8 sheet of 5/8 of an inch drywall weighs about 70 pounds, so 2 layers on a medium-sized ceiling can add several hundred pounds. Hat channels and isolation clips are designed and tested to handle that load, but only if you're using the correct 25 gauge channel. Always check the specs, but I would strongly recommend just hire somebody, because most people, if they tell you that this type of system, hat channels and isolation clips, didn't work for them, the reason for that is because the screws went directly into the joist, which made the whole system completely useless. Now, if you want to squeeze every bit of performance out of your ceiling soundproofing, add mass-loaded vinyl or MLV between your 2 layers of drywall. MLV is a dense, flexible sheet designed to block sound without taking much space. When you sandwich MLV between 2 layers of drywall, you're giving the ceiling a significant boost in density, and that extra mass is especially effective against lower frequency noise that regular drywall alone struggles to block. Cut the MLV so it fits the ceiling exactly. Lay it flat against the first layer of drywall, staple and tack it into place. Do not overlap the seams. Instead, butt the edges of the sheets together and seal those seams with acoustic seam tape or an appropriate acoustic sealant. And once the MLV is in place and taped, hang the second layer of drywall directly over it and screw it into the hat channel. In the US, a good quality MLV usually costs $2 to $3 per square foot. It's not cheap, but in a tough situation where you need the best performance, like under a noisy neighbor or a dedicated home theater, MLV can provide those extra decibels of noise reduction that makes the difference. Next, deal with the electrical box and recess lighting. Wrap each of these box and fixtures with putty pad, a moldable fire-rated sheet that creates an airtight seal around every corner. Press it firmly so no seams are exposed. These pads cost only a few dollars, but they're essential for preventing air and sound leaks around wiring and fixtures. Because as you can see, all those electrical boxes are full of holes. And finally, look at flanking paths, places where noise can bypass your ceiling entirely. Ductwork, plumbing, wall cavities, or gaps around beams can all carry sound from upstairs into your room. Use acoustic caulking, additional blocking, or flexible duct connectors to close off or isolate these paths. And by sealing all those gaps, you will notice a big difference. It is essential. Now, it's not cheap, but your soundproofing project for your ceiling is most likely going to work. However, if it's not really your ceiling, what if it's your wall that you want to soundproof? This video right there, not the cheapest, but the best way to soundproof a wall. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, assuming you subscribed. Blocks a shocking amount of noise. It's relatively cheap, removable, renter friendly, and way more effective than most people expect.